Sam, today's news video is beefier than a Vince McMahon meat wrap in the mouth of Brutus the Barber Beefcake, while Brutus the Barber Beefcake is riding WWF Attitude Era star Meat on the back like a horse around the butchers. So shall we get cracking with the knacking? There's so much news.
I think we probably should, yeah.
With that mental image inside of your head of Brutus the Barber Beefcake with a burrito in his hand on the back of Meat riding like a horse, let's look at the headline, shall we? Vince McMahon's reaction to Chris Jericho appearing on Steve Austin's Broken Skull Sessions has been revealed, and Austin himself has revealed how the interview came to be. A unique stipulation has been added to a WrestleMania 37 matchup, and Triple H has turned down a WrestleMania 37 matchup. Find out whom against in a Bitterlicious. So Sam, typically after this week's Cultaholic Wrestling podcast was in the can, some massive professional wrestling news broke. It happens each and every week, and this week it was arguably the most unexpected news ever, potentially, because AEW's Chris Jericho, Sam, will be appearing on WWE Steve Austin's Broken Skull Sessions. This is going to be weird. Forbidden doors are being smashed everywhere.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I don't know. Just probably the least expected thing, because the little tease went out earlier in the day and it was like, what's this?
It was on April Fool's Day.
Is it
was
just
like, what is this?
Yeah, is it like a weird tone-deaf thing where they've used the Jericho sound effect and it was somebody on the social team who didn't quite know, and then it wasn't, and it was like, ugh!
It's going to be weird though, because are they going to mention AEW by name? Just imagine Steve Austin going, "So, Chris, what have you been up to the past few years?"
I've been traveling the world.
I'm on the network. I'm on Peacock. It's WWE. What are they going to do? It's going to be interesting anyway. Anyway, Steve Austin's been speaking with Sports Illustrated and has revealed Vince McMahon's reaction to him, like, sort of making the interview come to be. He said, this has been Steve, by the way, "I texted Vince and we said we had this badass idea about Jericho coming on the show. Vince goes, 'It's cool. Go ahead.' But me and Vince don't always do well with phones and text and all that, so I texted one more time. 'Are you sure it's okay to have Chris Jericho on the show?' Vince gave me the thumbs up, and Chris came out to do the show."
Does
so
he
there
think
we have
that
it.
he's still signed? No.
Because typically, I mean, back in the 90s, Vince McMahon was very much open to working with other promotions. We saw big super shows with New Japan Pro Wrestling and the like. But since then, the past 2 decades has been completely barren, unless it's been Vince McMahon sort of buying up little territories here and there, like ICW in Progress and stuff like that. So this is a real shock to see.
Yeah, it's. I guess we can never say never on it. It's just there hasn't really been competition on the US market at that level to easily, do that swappy swap with. For about 20 years, so I'm really excited to tune in. I hope they talk about a range of topics, but I can't even fathom the fact that it's happening. For one, it's still sinking in.
In your professional journalistic opinion, Sam, do you think this will lead to sort of in-ring action, in-ring sort of combined shows with WWE and AEW?
Not a chance.
Same. Steve Austin also spoke to Sports Illustrated, revealing how the Jericho appearance sort of came to be. He says, "I was having a beer one night after my Broken Skull Sessions interview with The Undertaker aired, and out of the blue, Chris Jericho reached out and said, 'Man, that was a great interview.' I sent him back a couple of those emojis, one of a beer mug and the other of an eagle."
All right, yeah.
Then he called me, he being Jericho, of course, he called me right there and then. We got to talking. I've always respected the hell out of his career, and I'm glad they're around. I guess they are being AEW, of course. It gives the guys and girls in professional wrestling more places to work. I said, I'd love to have you on the show. I read that as if I'd love to do you on the show. That's a completely different show altogether. I'd love to have you on the show, and he said I'd love to do it. So I checked with Vince about it, and then we just heard about that there. So that's how it all came about. 2 emojis, Sam, a beer mug, and an eagle.
I was about to say, if you tweet that at Jericho, does he just call your phone immediately?
Shall we try it out? After this news video goes live, you'll see that from me and Sam. Just I am Jericho, I think his handle is. Beer emoji, eagle. Straight to hell appearance with Chris Jericho coming soon, obviously. Anyway, moving on to more headlines from the wrestling world. Last night, Sam, SmackDown happened. How was it overall? Give me a noise. Fair enough. One of the most shocking things that happened on last night's SmackDown was a massive stipulation being added to a WrestleMania 37 matchup. Of course, before last night's SmackDown, we already knew that Big E would be defending the Intercontinental Championship against Apollo Crews one more time. But Apollo Crews has challenged Big E now to a Nigerian drum match. What this is, nobody knows. But I've watched the promo he did this morning, and it seems to hint at sort of a no DQ sort of thing.
Yeah,
maybe?
So he says that it's a Nigerian drum fight, and that the drum in the name refers to, the sound of your bones being beaten and like the noise your body's going to make as I'm beating you like a drum, basically. But then he kind of says there's no rules, and so it's probably going to be something resembling an ODQ or a street fight, or it's falls count anywhere madness, but it's going to be a brawl. They've already had a bit of an interaction like this, like they had a bit of a backstage brawl a few weeks ago before Fastlane. With Big E, looking for him in a golf cart, and then them just laying into each other in this corridor, and Big E planting him face first into all these lockers and stuff. So they can do it. We've seen that before. So if it is going to go quite to that level of like a proper knockdown, drag-out fight, just all over the arena, it'd be great.
I'll tell you what, though, I was hearing just Nigerian drum fight, and I was just picturing those two lads in the middle of the night, just pre-recorded, cinematic affair, in a field, sort of a ring of drummers just beating the drums and fire and all sorts, and they're in like the middle of this pit, just like beating the proverbial PISS out of each other. Be a fantastic aesthetic.
It would be class.
A different feeling match. But any other headlines from last night's SmackDown?
Well, it was all just sort of set up. It was all set up. Ed just kind of cemented his heel turn a little bit. He opened the show and said that he looked in the mirror and finally he liked what he saw. He saw the Rated R Superstar. It feels like even though Edge has been back for a year, it feels like Edge is now really back. Like it feels like he's back as a strong heel, which is what Edge is good at. Bryan just laying him head first into the post after his match, and then making Roman Nelly tap out. It was pretty solid. There was a shocking bit of setup for the women's tag match, which, I understand there needs to be a lot of setup, but there was like a moment where we had Shayna and Natty just like getting ready to fight, and it's like, oh god, these two, it's going to be technical, it's going to be amazing, it's going to be small cradle, and then they did the thing where they roll, oh, I'm pinning you, oh, I'm pinning you, no, I'm pinning you again, and Shayna got pinned in like 13 seconds.
She's not very good when it comes to sort of reversals, is it? She always gets caught out when someone reversed the Karafuda clutch into a pin. Oh, it's just annoying with Shayna Baszler. She's good at wrestling, man. WWE. Haven't been good at wrestling. Any other headlines? Was that it?
I'm trying to remember, but it was
Logan
mainly...
Paul was there. What did he do?
Logan Paul, oh yeah, God. So he came out and he had him and Sammy, and it was Sammy's trailer. Oh my, Sammy's trailer. They need to release this. They need to make this thing huge. It needs to actually be a documentary. But we had Sammy's trailer, and Logan was there for it, and he was being all like, yeah, I'll be your special celebrity guest at WrestleMania, Sami Zayn. And then Sammy started getting weirder and weirder and crazier, and he's just kind of sat there going, I regret this decision immediately. Owens then rocked up and shoved Logan Paul before he left the ring. So there's like a little bit of ooh. But other than that, yeah, not really a lot.
There we go then. So later today on the channel, I'll be back with the WTF moments from last night's SmackDown. But before that, Sam will be here with the graded from last night's SmackDown. Moving on, Alicious, we now have Triple H, who's doing one of those media scrum thingies ahead of NXT Stand and Deliver. Oi, oi, oi. Where he revealed that he turned down a WrestleMania 37 matchup. This comes to us via a tweet from Shawn Ross Sapp, who of course was on the call. Who tweeted, bloody hell, put your teeth in, Ross. Triple H confirms to Alice McCarthy that AJ Styles had pestered him for a WrestleMania match. He says Styles could carry him to something he wouldn't tell him no, but in-ring shape and being in shape are not the same. HHH told Styles he wouldn't be able to have time to prepare because, of course, he is an executive and all that fancy stuff, Sam.
He should just be somehow, working harder. He should be doing sit-ups all the time. He should have a machine that's just moving him as he's sat at his desk, just making him get really good abs. And it's completely understandable, isn't it? I mean, the guy he's got so much on his plate that it's amazing that he's even been able to come and have matches over the last few years anyway. So, we gotta just understand it. And ultimately, is it going to affect Mania too badly? I don't think so. It's always nice when he comes out and has a match, but... it's understandable.
But crucially, Sam, Triple H has left that proverbial ball tickler in the thing because Shawn Ross Sapp has also tweeted, HHH says he won't rule out a match against AJ Styles in the next year. He says a lot of old-timers tell him he's got to have that big retirement match when that happens. In-ring is a bonus for Triple H at this point. So there we have it there, Triple H versus AJ Styles. First Saudi Arabia show back, why the hell not? It'll be good though, because if anyone's, it's a very obvious thing to say, isn't it? But if you're an older fella and you're gonna have a retirement match, you want it to be against someone like AJ Styles who can just do all of the work for you.
We'll make it a War Games match, but just a two-person one somehow with Ric Flair, special guest refereeing. Hulk Hogan's involved. There's going to be motorbikes. There's going to be all sorts, but it's Saudi money. It's fine. That's fine.
And now moving on, we have Shawn X-Pac Waltman. It's always weird to say his name like that.
Shawn
X-Pac Waltman on an episode of his Pro Wrestling 4 Life podcast where he discussed the experience of being at this year's Hall of Fame ceremony, Sam. Are you looking forward to the pre-recorded Hall of Fame?
Kinda, yeah. It's going to be odd, and I saw the whole thing with the Bella Twins getting limited to 15 minutes, and they were like, "We had this whole speech," and it was like, "Yeah, no, like it was like I think they got shortened down from 15 minutes, was it?"
I've got no idea what you're talking
about. Shortened down to 15 minutes. They had their script cut because they just went on and on and on, apparently. So they're keeping it tight, apparently, and they're going to move forward in, I am assuming, more like an Oscars-style presentation. The Oscars famously having to get people to stop talking so much by wrapping them up. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see anyway because, obviously, Thunderdome.
Yeah. Obviously, Waltman was there because he was in the building, wasn't he, getting inducted and doing all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
He says, they flew us in the night before, we took a COVID test, and then they had us up and out at 7 a.m. We were at the building at 8 a.m. It was a little rough, especially coming from the West Coast and having the time difference. My body is all screwed up. My heart bleeds for you, Shawn. I've got a little bit of jet lag right now, actually. We did a lot of sitting around for a while, and then once things started going, they went quick. We started taking the pictures and doing the rehearsal. The rehearsal, it was just walking through to get positions. If you flubbed your line or whatever, you could just redo it. Take 2, and then do it again. And they chop it up. They are the best at that. No people, crucially though, Sam, were doing the introductions. This is what Waltman had to say about that. There were none in 2019. There were none in 2019. I don't think there were any then either. At the Hall of Fame in 2019, there must have been.
I believe there were, but it's one of those. Maybe they're using little like video packages.
He goes on to say, Sam, Jerry Lawler was out there hosting like you normally would, and then it would go to a video package. It was almost like the video package was the induction. So there we have it, a trimmed down a trimmed down Hall of Fame ceremony this year inside the Thunderdome. I can't wait because Mr. T's and Hillbilly Jims of this world, nah, not for me, Chief.
The other thing as well is there's no actual live audience there, is there? So it's not like there's a paying audience that you stretch the show out for like 4 hours for. So
I've not thought about that. They might, since there's fans at WrestleMania, they might get a 10 in, 20 in, sit at the back behind all the screens. Yeah, who knows? We'll have to see. But the Hall of Fame is coming up this week on a bumper WrestleMania week that will never, ever end. But finally, Sam, before we go today on this bumper edition of the Saturday Morning News, New Japan Pro Wrestling have revealed another new title.
Yes, they have. It's the title for their New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong show, which is, of course, their US wing that's developing. And this is a big statement from the company by putting a belt there front and center. And it's been a bit of a banner week for New Japan belts, hasn't it?
Yeah, so the tweet that went out last night about this new title reads, the New Japan Cup USA winner will not be a contender. The New Japan USA Cup winner will be a champion, introducing the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship. And you can see it down below there. And as Sam said there, after the new title that got revealed the other day, they just look cheap and naff, don't they?
It's not so much that they're cheap and naff. I think if I saw either of those belts at a different promotion, I'd be a little bit like, all right, but fair enough. But I don't know if it's because we're so spoiled with more traditional belt designs historically from New Japan. It'll probably grow on us. The strong one, I must admit, looks quite, straightforward in terms of modern belt styles. It's just right there, big logo, all the kind of rays coming off behind it, and it's just like a single plate. But it's ultimately the legacy of these belts that's going to make them something important, isn't it? So the more we see these belts being brandished about, the more we see them being used as weapons, the more we see people that we really love wearing them around their waist, then I think the more we're going to get on board with them. But it's going to take a lot for that Nightmare Family tattoo-shaped one.
Still, though, for the football fans watching, these new title designs are like going from Rafa Benitez down to Steve Bruce. That's what it's like. It's just not the same. It's just not as good. We have been spoiled by New Japan belts in the past, but these ones just don't. What? We need to find out what the change is all about.
I'd heard some rumors that it was something to do with the belt designer retaining half of the rights to the belt design itself, and that it meant that they couldn't easily replace the belts, that everything had to be approved via the belt designer. This could all be, rumor and innuendo, but it's just stuff that I've heard. But it's like maybe it's a case of, they want to shake things up. They don't want to have to, pay an extortionate amount to go back through whatever process. Go with a new designer, go for something fresh. Kind of give the brand a whole new look.
And a worse one. But there we have it. There is your Saturday morning wrestling news headlines. Sam, any closing thoughts before we go away and do some SmackDown videos?
No, War Stories will be up tomorrow at about 1:15 p.m, the final episode of Season 2. And you've got a tier later on today, don't you?
There's a tier list going out with myself and Adam Pacitti, where we go through 25 different special WrestleMania entrances. All better than the last. Thank you for watching this video this morning. I've been Ross. He's been Sam. We'll see you soon.